Hi, as a backseat photographer, you've got to be ready for fast picture taking. So, begin setting your camera before you even leave. Figure out what you're trying to achieve. For me, I like a small aperture to get those rich, vibrant colors. I love them, especially vacation photos. So I know that I'm going to want an aperture of 7 to 10, most likely 7, 8, or 9. I also know that I'm going to be moving pretty fast, so I need a fast shutter speed. So daylight photos, if it's bright enough, I can get some very fast shots. I don't have to worry too much about that, but I have to keep in mind the closer the subject is to the car, the faster I have to shoot it. And the faster it's moving in an opposite or different direction, the faster I have to shoot. Also, the more direct, straight in line as I'm moving forward, the faster I have to shoot it. If I shoot forward, I don't have to shoot so fast. Backwards, I don't have to shoot so fast. Straight out, I've got to be very fast. I did some tests on my last trip. I was stopping the wheels of big rig trucks that we were passing. The sunlight was on them, so I had plenty of light. And I'll include some of the shots of this where I shot at 1/3200th of a second. Froze the truck tires as if it was parked, and yet it was going 65 or so miles an hour. So you have your shutter speed and you have your aperture. Get a good idea where you want those to be. You also have ISO that you can change to get more light to be able to shoot faster or a smaller aperture. However, don't want to mess with ISO very much, because if these photos are important enough for me to spend all this time and trouble to get, and are going to be so rare, I want the best ISO setting I can have. So most of the time I'm just dealing with aperture and shutter speed. I'm using an 18 to 200 zoom lens. You have to keep in mind, the farther you zoom out, the less light you're going to get. So my zoom lens apertures run from 3.5 to 5.6 as my minimums, or excuse me, maximum size of aperture. Once I start zooming, that's going to get a smaller and smaller aperture automatically from the zoom. Now 5.6, if I zoom all the way out, that's my largest aperture. So if I preset my aperture setting at, we'll say 7, 8, or 9, then I don't have to worry about that aperture changing as I zoom in and out. The only thing I have to worry about in terms of light coming in is the farther I zoom out, the less light will come through the tube. And that's why I shot a picture of a couple of tubes that I've mounted on a tripod, one short and one long, to show you that more light will come in the short tube than the long tube. Yet they have the same opening or the same aperture, but there's more light in the shorter tube. So if I set my aperture beyond the 5.6 minimum, then it's not going to change as I zoom in and out. However, the light will still change, so I will have to make adjustments with shutter speed. Zoomed all the way out, I've got to shoot a little bit slower. Keeping that in mind, I plan for that. The closer something is to the car, the faster I have to shoot. I probably don't want to zoom it. I want to zoom back. The distant objects, you can shoot those at slower speeds. They're not moving past your field of view so fast, or it's easier to pan them than it is the grass whipping past, or a guardrail, or a bridge, or a pedestrian, or an accident or something. Let's take a trip. It's a trip from San Francisco to Dallas. There's sandstorms, snowstorms, thick amounts of salt blowing up on the car. There's car accidents. There's old abandoned houses, beautiful skies and scenery, deep snow that wasn't there one day but was the next. Hot temperatures, bitter cold temperatures, traffic jams, closed roads. I got to be the backseat. There's one very spectacular photo as far as I'm concerned. I knew there was this gorgeous snow-covered mountain behind the stand of trees. But the trees were so thick I couldn't see the mountain. I kept the camera trained on those trees as they're whipping past. I had to have a very fast shutter speed. Even though the trees were a little bit dark, it wasn't full blazing sun, but what I was waiting for was that opening. The opening in the trees where I could see through them and see that distant snow-covered mountain. So I preset. I took my test shots, found out the maximum I could shoot at in terms of shutter speed. I found the correct aperture to get the color I was looking for. Of course, the white balance was right. And then, as my camera will shoot many frames in a second, up to 7 frames in a second, I got ready and I shot when I expected. Now, the break in the trees is going to be directly outside my window, so it's got to be fast. And the break in the trees, which I don't know if it's coming or not, but I do expect it to be very small. And of all the photos I took, expecting that break to be there, but it wasn't there, and then trying again and it wasn't there, I finally got one shot through the trees. And because of all the practice and presetting the camera, it worked. Very, very little computer adjustments at all, if any. And that's what I'm always looking for. I like to be able to use the computer. And I like to be able to fix photos. But I'm thrilled when I don't have to.